Hey horror fans, once again it is me, the Horror Miser Money G. It's time to do another tag video. This is called the Horribles tag. Now this tag was created by my good friends over at the Nightwatch Zone. They are back once again. Welcome back, Night and Coriander and Killian. They created this tag. Basically, it's about the worst of the worst when it comes to horror films. Whether we have the worst final girl, worst horror sequel, worst part 2 in a franchise, worst franchise, particularly anything bad about a horror film, this tag has it. Now, I believe there are 10 questions in this particular tag, and we're going to start off with the first question is worst werewolf horror movie. Now, there have been some bad werewolf horror movies, particularly obviously the Tom Cruise's, not Tom Cruise's, the supposedly reboot of Universal's The Wolfman starring Benicio del Toro. He was in that one. It had some good practical. It had some good practical effects, but unfortunately they decided to use CGI. But I don't consider that a bad werewolf movie. Just a bad idea to use CGI instead of practical effects. If you want to make a remake of one of Universal's popular horror movies, The Wolfman, where they actually use great practical effects back in the day, you don't kill it by using CGI transformations. We can do better than that. But obviously, it's for me, and a lot of people are probably going to pick this. It's An American Werewolf in Paris. Yeah, it has some moments, but you know, some very bad CGI again. Some funny stuff that wasn't funny. I didn't like how they decided to do the werewolves, and what are you going to do? It's just a terrible werewolf movie. So, worst werewolf movie is American Werewolf in Paris. The next one is most recent bad horror movie that you watch. Now, this took a little trouble figuring it out because out of all the horror movies I watched, 3 bad ones come in particular. We have Shook, we have the Castle Freak remake, and then we've had the Craft remake. And out of all of those 3, I have to pick the Craft remake because at least with Shook and with Castle Freak, there were some good moments that I like about this one. But in the Craft remake, there's really not much I liked about that particular film at all. It was, like I said, it was some David Duchovny's his presence in the film didn't make any sense. They had this little throwaway thing where we actually had Nancy from the first movie. She makes an appearance at the end of the picture film. I'm pretty sure I'm spoiling it if you haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure most everyone's seen it already right there. The girls, you know, we don't get that much character development from any of the girls, and you know, it's just a terrible idea to make a terrible remake. So, worst horror movie that I watched recently is the Craft remake. All right, the next question is worst part 2 in a horror movie. Now, there are a lot of bad part 2s that we've seen in horror films, but I don't think it can't get any worse than American Psycho 2 All American Girl. When could we ever learn that Mila Kunis cannot act? She looks cute. That's why she gets the roles. That's why she got the roles. I mean, I never watched that 70s show. That's where she's from. That's where she got her start. And I guess because she does look cute and pretty, I guess that's why she does get the roles. But for me, she can't act. And this movie proves it right here. Supposedly, one of the survivors at the end of the first American Psycho from Kristen Bell's character, I think his name is Patrick Bateman, if I got his name right. She's one of the person that survived, and now she's grown up, and now all of a sudden she's going to start killing everyone now. It was a terrible idea. She does a terrible job in the film. It was a bad film all around. So definitely American Psycho 2, All American Girl, worst part 2 in a horror movie. The next one is worst Stephen King movie adaptation. Now, there are some pretty good Stephen King adaptations, and there's been some pretty bad ones. But most of them, I think, I'm going to go with movie and not TV shows. Obviously, we have the Tommy Knockers. A lot of people didn't like that one. The Langoliers, let's not even talk about those CGI meatballs, because that's what they look like, CGI meatballs from the Langoliers. But when it comes to actual a theatrical release or a movie based on a Stephen King novel or novelette, I would have to go with the John Cusack, Samuel L. Jackson movie called Cell. Now, the idea is decent. All of a sudden people who use cell phones, and all of a sudden the signal comes along and it's supposed to drive you crazy. But it was just poorly executed. When is John Cusack? What's John Cusack doing in the horror movie? I guess because they did a great job in 1408. Both Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack starred in that one, so I guess they still let's put them in again in another Stephen King adaptation film. But this film doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. It was a terrible adaptation, terrible film. So worst Stephen King movie adaptation is Cell. This is going to be a good one. Worst Final Girl. Yeah, there are some pretty bad Final Girls in movies. I believe, I can't remember her name. I believe it was the woman who starred in Friday the 13th Part 3. I mean, talk about a drop in quality Final Girls from Amy Steele and Friday the 13th Part 2 to that girl in Friday the 13th Part 3. A huge drop. There's been some other worse Final Girls, but I think you can't get any worse than Rhonda Mooney, who played Nancy Holbrook in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I mean, she did a terrible job. You know, I wish they would have switched the roles where she actually plays the Tina character and have Kate Cassidy play Nancy. I think if they switched the roles, the movie wouldn't have been much better because, as we all know, Rhonda Movie did not like being in the film. She made it later. I think she made and did an interview where she didn't like the movie at all, and you could tell in her performance that she did not want to be there. She's one of the reasons why the movie does not do any well at all. So definitely, worst Final Girl is Munarani, Nancy Holbrook, and a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Okay, the next one is worst horror remake. Now we've had some bad horror remakes in my time, but I don't think anything can be as bad as the remake for Psycho. Oh God, who thought Vincent Vaughn could do the thing what Anthony Perkins did? I mean, he tries, but he just doesn't have the touch. And then you have Anne Heche. She's decent, was a decent actor, but again, it's just the movie just doesn't work. And what makes it even worse, they try to do it shot for shot. I mean, the worst thing you can do in a horror movie or any type of remake is do a shot for shot remake. That's why the Cabin Fever remake didn't work. Because they did it shot for shot. It doesn't work. You can try to change some aspects of the movie, but shot for shot remakes don't work. I don't even think I haven't seen a horror remake or any type of remake that does a shot for shot, and it just doesn't work. A lot of people picked The Fog because I believe Coriander picked The Fog. Yeah, that was a terrible remake, but nothing as bad or as terrible as the Psycho remake that came out in 1998. Terrible remake. The next one is worst horror villain. Now, we've had some pretty bad horror villains in my time, but I don't think you can get a horror villain as bad as Sophia Bonetti, who played the female version of the Mummy in Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Oh, God. I mean, the one thing I truly liked about Brendan Fraser's in 1990 Stephen Sommers' Mummy series is that Brendan Fraser was excellent. It was excellent in his role, but Arnold Vosloo was excellent, who played Imhotep. He was a great villain, and you have those two contrasting characters, and that's what made the movie such a fun time. Yes, it wasn't a great movie, but it was still a fun, nostalgic movie, almost like an Indiana Jones type film. But I don't know what Universal was thinking. Obviously, they were trying to build up their Dark Universe series, because that's the reason why they had so many Easter eggs in there. But if you're going to create a universe, you got to make sure you have a decent story. Now, I did like some aspects of The Mummy. There were some creepy moments, but unfortunately, and I don't fault Sophia Bonetti in this one right there. It's just that her story was weak. She's a weak villain. She wasn't scary. She wasn't frightening. She didn't scare anybody at all. There's nothing wrong having a female be the villain in a horror movie, but she has to be at least scary and threatening, and unfortunately she is not in this particular film. Okay, the next one is worst horror movie mother. Now, there are plenty of horror movie mothers. Obviously, we have Pamela Voorhees from Friday the 13th. We've had the mother in Mother's Day. She's a terrible mother. But I decided to go a different route and decided to go with Kathleen Turner, who played Beverly something in Serial Mom. Yeah, I'm going there. The one thing I like about Serial Mom is because it's a dark horror movie. And she plays a nice suburban mom who does everything, who looks like she's nice and calm, and she loves her kids, she loves her husband, but if you do her kids wrong, she will kill you, and will definitely will kill you. And I like the way Kathleen Turner plays her. You know, she has that nice innocent smile. There's a scene in the room where she's about to kill this person, and they open up the door, and she has that nice smile with the scissors in hand, and she literally just stabs the person to death. So you really got to give her credit. So definitely something. Kathleen Turner in Serial Mom. Now I'm going to love this one. Worst horror movie franchises. Now, I'm sorry, Christian and Jen, but you know I'm going to have to go there. But if there's any worst horror franchise that I've seen, and that's Children of the Corn. I mean, oh God. Other than the first one, and even that's really not a great horror film, but at least it has its moments. But the whole rest of the series is just plain terrible. I mean, I almost went with Hellraiser, but at least Hellraiser has at least two more in the series that I like more than I like Children of the Corn. But other than the first one, there's no continuity. I believe some of the aspects of the first one you do see in some of the films, because I believe Zachary comes back in one of these films. I've forgotten most of the ones I've watched. I believe the supposedly remake that they made, I think it aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. That was terrible. There's nothing good is anything about these films, and it's a sad thing because the short story that this is based on, another Stephen King short story, is pretty good. But what are you going to do? But worst horror franchises, Children of the Corn. And here we go. The last question is worst horror movie kill. Now, there are a lot of bad horror movie kills, but I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go with the character Krug being killed in a microwave in the remake of Last House on the Left. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you can actually put a person head first in the microwave with his head and the door still open and the microwave still works. I don't know about that. I think the door has to be closed first in order for that to work. But what are you going to do? You have to suspend your belief. But I just thought it was a terrible kill. I mean, the practical effects are good, but I just didn't. I thought they went a bit over the top with that type of a kill. So, worst horror movie kill has to be the Krug character that gets killed by a microwave in the remake of Last House on the Left. So there you have it. That is the Horribles tag. Once again, I want to thank Knight and Coriander and Killian for coming up with this tag. And now it's my turn to tag some people. So I'm going to tag Random Ross. I'm going to tag the great Dice Roland. I'm pretty sure she does it. I'm going to tag my favorite sexy werewolf, Queenie Todd. And anybody else who is watching this video, if you want to do this, consider yourself tagged by me, the Horror Miser Monty D. Just make sure that you give the credit to the Night Zone Watch crew because this is the tag that they created. So there you have it. That's my video for the day, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, please give it a like, share, because it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put up new videos such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G, and always remember that horror rules. Haha! I'll see you in my next video. I'm out.